Here we go from NBC News. Judge delays Trump sentencing in hush money case until after November election. The former president was scheduled to be sentenced on September 18th. A New York judge has delayed Trump sentencing on felony criminal charges. Quote, "This is not a decision this court makes lightly, but it is the decision which in the court's view best advances the interests of justice." Judge Juan Merchan wrote in the decision handed down Friday. Merchan issued the ruling after Trump's attorneys had asked him to postpone the sentencing until after the election to allow them to appeal a pending ruling involving presidential immunity. That ruling was expected by September 16th, just 2 days before what would have been the first ever sentencing of a former president on criminal charges. They go on to mention the charges, which we know. Merchan said in his order Friday that he took that as the DA essentially consenting to the request. Well, let me actually say prosecutors from Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's office said they would defer to the court on whether an adjournment is warranted to allow for orderly appellate litigation of any Trump appeal, but would be prepared to appear for sentencing on any future date the court sets. Merchan said in his order Friday that he took this as the DA essentially consenting to the request. He also acknowledged that the case is one that stands alone in a unique place in this nation's history. And so I have to wonder, some speculation right now is the reason they're doing this is because they fear sentencing Donald Trump would actually boost him. And Nate Silver has already got him favored to win.
Yeah, it's interesting because Merchan mentions the mitigating factors that's unique to this case, that they're bringing charges or they're trying to sentence one of the major political parties in America's presidential candidates. I think that the lawfare against Trump is losing fuel. I think even gung-ho progressives in these DA's office or in the DOJ that at one time thought that this was going to really be valuable to them realize the clock is running out and that putting Trump behind bars wouldn't have the effect that they want. I also think that they want there to be drama after the election, so they have to keep some things back to be able to say, if he does win, well, then we want that perp walk photo of this president. Is this really who you want to be your president?
Yeah, well, they've seen how the first time around, the photo went around with everyone, and they see how he had big boost in money. What do you make, like $100 million plus? And this would just...
You have some of the best campaign merch of all time. The iconic mugshot, like sweatshirts and mugs. Yeah. And that's one of the only times he got back on X at that point. He was sort of there to drop his crazy merch and then leave.
Yeah. I'm wondering, would this have any effect on the gag order? Would that continue it so that he is not allowed to talk about certain things until then?
Yeah.
Yep.
So then I feel like that's another,
that's a good point.
They don't like him. They're not doing it to be nice.
They want to keep him. They want to keep his mouth shut. That could be largely it. If he gets sentenced, then he just goes off. Not just about getting sentenced, which may give him a boost. We don't know. Some speculation from a lot of these pollsters is that the American people wouldn't vote for a convicted criminal. But I guess sentencing doesn't matter in that regard if they're claiming he already is. But theoretically, that would release the gag then. And then Trump can say whatever he wants about the case and start crafting a narrative. This actually gives them some control over him. But I guess what's the repercussion for him violating the gag order? He goes to jail?
Yeah, fine. Yeah. It's probably going to be contempt of court. It wouldn't I don't think they'd actually put him in jail for this, for contempt of court.
I don't know.
They're threatening to. They had issued him so many fines. They were like, maybe it's time to put you in court. I mean, that's really what Merchan obviously wants. And if I'm not mistaken, there's a congressional committee that's calling Merchan's daughter's employer, because remember, she was part of a group fundraising off of Trump's legal issues in favor of Democrats. Obviously, I feel like I have to clarify, even though we all know how that goes. I really think that there is a fear that they don't know what to do with Donald Trump. Maybe the gag order is part of it. He doesn't talk about it, but I also think that it angers Democrats when they continue to lose. This wasn't a winning strategy. This wasn't even supposed to be the strongest case against him, and that's the only thing that could get convictions on.
No, this is the Stormy Daniels case, right? The hush money stuff. Yeah, I think that they've quickly found that they have to be really, really careful about what they do. Getting a mugshot of him obviously backfired and didn't do what they wanted it to do. And so I think they knew if they sentenced him, it might have the same effect. And I don't know. I picture them sitting around in a big boardroom being like, well, if we go here, he's going to do this. We've got to go here. It's all strategic.
And like you were saying, Miss Rep Stefanik is trying to get him recused because he's got degrees of separation to his daughter, Miss Merchan. She's trying to get him up because it's case is law says a judge dictates that a judge must recuse from a case where a relationship up to and including a sixth degree has a financial interest in the outcome of the case, and that is him and his daughter.
Yep.
But it's not going anywhere. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. He's going to stay the judge.
He's going to go to it's kind of crazy because this means either Trump wins or he goes to jail. After the election's over, this will be really interesting, especially if the election is contested. They lock Trump up while the election is being contested, whether it's in favor or a detriment to him. Like, let's say he wins, and then the Democrats are like, we're going to contest the election, and then they arrest the president-elect. Or the inverse is even worse. He doesn't win, he challenges the election, or Republicans do, and then he gets arrested mid-challenge.
Yeah.
Here's what I hope. I hope we have election day, and whoever wins, it's rather uneventful, and that's it. And then everyone's just like, okay, well, let's keep working on fighting the good fight and getting culture. And I just don't think that's a reality. I don't think it's possible.
I think there's too much hysteria. I think it's become a very contentious issue for a lot of reasons. Some people totally justified, but I think people are feeling the drama of the 24-hour news cycle that has fed us into this election in particular. I mean, every election someone says this is the be all and end all of our nation, but I feel like this year more than ever, because of sort of the number of unprecedented historical events that have happened, people really feel like this is make or break, and that tension doesn't just go away on election day. Like, even if your candidate wins, you have some kind of momentum. The other side is obviously going to be in reaction to it, and that's sort of the danger. If we can't cool tempers, what do we do?
I feel like I'm buying into the hype with the whole, that's the most important election of our lifetime. I keep telling myself, oh, it's just hype. It's just hype. I say it to everyone. But I mean, it actually might be.
I can think of all of the elections of my lifetime, and none of them were this eventful.
That's what I'm saying.
You could have completely ignored it, and it was like, okay, I guess. With like Obama, everyone was saying this is the most important one. Obama's going to end the war. And then he didn't. And I was like, so what really changed? Not a whole lot.
Yeah.
And then 2012, oh, come on. 2004, not really. 2000 was weird. 2004, everybody was pissed off. And I remember watching the debates or reruns of them. I think this was going on. I think I worked at O'Hare when this was going on. I barely remember or cared. And everyone's like, this is important. You're going to go vote. I'm like, I don't care. And then whatever, Bush won again and seemed uneventful. Now it's, they're arresting a lot of people. Lawyers are getting arrested. Mm-hmm. It's like with Twitter, with X, and with Instagram and all these other platforms, there's a 24/7 violent mob confined to these social spaces where they don't have the physical capability to go and smash things, but it's just like you take that large group of people and put them in the street with pitchforks and torches, screaming, just banging on the ground, and that's the internet. That's social media. So you how do you cool those people down? You can't.
Can't.
So
to our detriment, though.
It bubbles over.
I mean,
it's definitely going to bubble over. No matter what happens, 2025 is going to be 10 times worse than 2024. And 2024 was 10 times worse than 23, so on.
I think culturally, we're getting further and further apart. There's this huge divide, and I feel like people who used to not care so much about politics are jumping on one of the sides, and they have more at stake with every election that happens. So I do think it is kind of hype of being, this is the most important election, but I also think it actually is. This is the most divided we've ever been, and both sides, I think, see so much to be lost if they don't win.
And we're going to war if we don't win.
I don't know that we avoid war at all. I don't know at this point how Trump stops it. I mean, look, a year ago I was like, oh, if Trump were to win, he gets in and he can negotiate the peace. But now, I don't know that it's possible. And yeah, man, it seems like certainly there's a better choice with Donald Trump than the Democrats.
You think the dominoes have been hit down?
Yeah, and I felt like that was the plan. We talked about this earlier in the year, that Democrats are going to inflame the tensions to the point where even Trump won't be able to pull it back because they want to make sure they get their war. And hedging their bets is, well, if Donald Trump does win, at least the war will be at a point where it can't be rescinded. Trump would not be able to give up certain territories, like push the conflict to a point where Trump could not just end it overnight. And then maybe they're hoping they can weather 4 years of Trump should he win. And then after that, who are you going to get? You're not going to get another Trump.
That is the most kind of interesting thing about this second-term Trump presidency, which is that it is for sure his last, and it's not clear for either party who's coming down the pike. I mean, I think there are a lot of really interesting conservatives in the U.S. who might develop into a possible presidential candidate over the next 4 years. Obviously, J.D. Vance, there's a ton of them. The Democrats feel like more of a mystery to me in that sense. Like, if Kamala Harris loses, does she run again? Because she's not. I mean, nobody really selected her this time. I obviously think, I mentioned this before, but I think Gavin Newsom will throw his hat in the ring. Who else? Like, which direction does the Democratic Party go? Because the end of Trump's potential to be president, meaning if he completes, he runs out of terms, he does 2 full terms. It's not totally clear where the party goes, but also there is a clear momentum. There is a redefining of the values of the Republican Party that's emerged over the last decade. I don't know what the equivalent on the Democratic side is. They seem more divided to me.
Buttigieg? Probably like Buttigieg or one of those folks, or maybe, But
Buttigieg went into the cabinet and sort of lost all momentum. I think he would have done more if he could have stayed as on the state level and put his name on more legislation. Right now, he's like, didn't show up to the train crash guy and took parental leave when there was all kinds of chaos guy.
I don't think he looks like Alfred E. Newman. You know who that is? Mad Magazine. You guys, I
remember Mad, but
he's the Mad guy. He's the
main character dude.
The mascot guy.
Oh, okay.
I'm not trying to be a dick, but
I'm never going to be able to unsee that. Yeah.
Buttigieg doesn't have the X factor that presidents need. It's very apparent that Obama has it. It's very apparent that Donald Trump has it. Mm-hmm. Kamala Harris does not have it at all. Joe Biden barely has any. He has a little bit, to be fair. Joe Biden's not.
I think he had it more early in his career.
Yes.
Before he became broken, for sure.
You're right. I don't see Kamala Harris having that X factor. She comes off like a bit part player, like Buttigieg or anybody else.
But what if now she's like, no, you guys nominated me for president once. I deserve a second shot. Like, she might not be able. She's not. I mean, she's what's in her 60s. She might be around for a little while now. Yeah. What if she sort of Hillary Clinton's it and every couple of years throws her hat into the ring?
Yeah, I could totally see that. I think she's a horrible candidate, but I do think she has that pride of she wouldn't want to step down. She wouldn't want to give it up. I think that Gavin Newsom has that though. And so I think if they were smart, they would plan for him to run. But I don't know if she's going to let that happen. Yeah, that'll be interesting. But I think you're right. I think they're a lot more divided because I can only think of a couple people again who could win, who have the potential.
Well, and then there's like the House leadership, right? Like Hakeem Jeffries, he's been climbing the ranks a little while. Does he want to make a bid for the president? Like there are other Democrats, but again, it's not like extremely cohesive on the state level. I think the obvious person who wants it is Gavin Newsom, but Gretchen Whitmer might decide that she is the girl boss in charge. She's backing Kamala Harris right now. I mean, it's not clear that they. No, maybe they'll develop a plan over the next 4 years, but it's hard to say. Thanks for watching this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to check out the live show Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. on this channel. Subscribe and we'll see you all there.